What may seem as a harmless detention center may have notorious secrets behind locked doors. South America is home to some of the most torturous jails to be known worldwide. Exploring them, finding out their deepest and darkest secrets, is sure to bring a chill down anybody's spine. Be sure to be ready, because what comes next may be something very different from being pleasant. They say the manner of the prison reflects on the place it is situated in. So could this reflect on how South America treats its people? Welcome back to All About Prison, and today we are going to uncover the dark side of the cruel prisons of South America. South American prisons take inhumane steps to punish their inmates, as per the findings of multiple media reports. According to the findings of Valerio Bispuri and his solid evidence of photographs, it is clear that the inmates live in such poor conditions. The pictures show the inmates crammed in a confined place with no means of hygiene, sometimes having to even live with decaying animals, while some others live over leaking sewages. The cold, dingy floors make it hard for some injured and wounded inmates to recover. Valerio Bispuri's findings on the Brazilian prisons. Valerio had to go through many difficulties to get inside the prisons in Brazil. As to get inside, he had to seek permission from not officials but gangsters. The gangster group that managed the prison was the Red Comando Vicious, and also rather dangerous drug gang. Valerio Bispuri's findings on the prisons in Peru. While the other prisoners were begging and pleading with Valerio to expose the torturous, unhygienic conditions they had to live through, some had a rather violent approach towards Valerio. Such was the case in Peru, where one of the inmates was aiming to stab him with a syringe filled with contaminated blood. But thanks to the Italian inmate's rescue, Valerio remains unharmed. Other violent approaches include the inmates throwing bags of urine at him while he was working on his project. And while this may seem overbearing to most, Valerio bore it all and continued with his project, as he knew there were people out there that needed his help, and that he may be the glimmer of hope they have in their life to escape the hellish prisons. Valerio Bispuri's pictorial evidence on the shocking conditions of Argentina's prisons. Valerio was at first denied access to these prisons, as the officials claimed that it would be of high risk. They told him that the prisons were filled with violent inmates and that his safety was not guaranteed. But regardless of the warnings he received, Valerio insisted he explored the jails. But what he found out later shocked him to his very core. When Bispuri entered the prison, he was accompanied with exhausted cries and merciless-like conditions of the prisoners, something he hadn't expected to see. They begged Bispuri to take the pictures of the sorry state and show it to the outside world as to how they were treated like rags, and that they deserved the minimum human rights. They reassured Valerio that they would by no means pose any kinds of threat to him or his safety, and that they simply needed freedom from the captive reigns of torture. According to the reports presented by Valerio, these men were living in a state of pure atrocity. There was filth everywhere, and the cells were too crammed up, as about 90 inmates were to cram up together. And to make matters worse, the dead and decaying animals in the cell, creating the pungent odor and pure filth, made it almost next to impossible to live there. There was filthy water everywhere, and the men who had affected wounds were left untreated and in pain. The stories told by the inmates astonished Valerio, as well as the rest of the world, causing the atrocious place to shut down forever. One other prison known for its cruel lifestyle is the San Pedro prison in the Bolivian capital of La Paz. This prison is not your usual detention center, but it's more like a self-run prison. The people here live with their entire families, and on top of that, has immense freedom that even allows them to sell drugs. You've heard that right, so let's explore some more on life here at San Pedro's. The famous prisoners could buy their way into the nicer parts of the neighborhood, and according to a reporter, some parts of this prison were even nicer than most hotels. It had all kinds of luxurious household furniture. But what shocks people the most is how close this prison is to resembling your average normal neighborhood. But as it turns out, some parts of this prison are not as nice as the others. Most convicts are drug sellers or dealers, but otherwise it is a highly sophisticated place. Comment down below any other prisons that hold unusual stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates.